It was the Bengal, the English governor of Bengal in the British Raj. Of course, the capital was in Calcutta. And the viceroy was the next representative of the queen, the most powerful person. And right under the viceroy in the British administration was the governor of Bengal. Because Calcutta was the capital, Bengal was the richest part of India at the time. And he was a meteor, of course. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was severely criticized. Now, in those times, not many people were coming to Mayapur. To get out to Mayapur was an old ox cart trail. So, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was so influential that he got the English governor, I forget his name, it's on the tip of my tongue, got him to come. So to get him out there, they had to build a whole road. Get him out there and his entourage and his, English touring car and the whole thing out there. So he came, said some words, left, like that. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, I didn't care about the governor. I just wanted to get the road. Because that way people could come out to. So he had a whole plan. The British paid for it. They put in a beautiful road. People could come to visit Mayapur. So this is, the thinking of a genuine spiritualist. Just like Prabhupada, where you're letting women live in the temple and you're letting sannyasis fly in airplanes. What's wrong with, So they don't understand how to spread Mahaprabhu's mission. Prabhupada said, were you with us when we went in 73? So many devotees went. Anyway, so many devotees went to Mayapur for the first time in 1973. And Prabhupada speaking in Calcutta. Not Calcutta, excuse me. Prabhupada speaking in Gainesville. You can hear the tape. And Prabhupada says, I'm speaking to you in this remote corner of the world, far from the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, you would think that Gainesville, 40,000 students, in the central Florida, that's not such a remote place. And Mayapur, in those days, if you turned on a radio, you could hear it 3 miles away. It was just rice fields and some mango groves. It was a remote, to get to Mayapur, you had to fly to Calcutta. In those days, you had to fly to Delhi. From Delhi, you flew to Calcutta. In Calcutta, it was a 3-hour bus ride. And nothing was there. And you'll see the picture in a minute. So, but Prabhupada said, when he brought us all to Mayapur, and we thought, we're out in the middle of nowhere. And this is our world headquarters. Prabhupada said they will reroute flights coming into Calcutta to fly over the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium. So you'll see that next shot. So this is the first building in Mayapur. This is a hut, and Prabhupada stayed in it. And when Prabhupada first came from Calcutta, Tamal Krishna Maharaj told me this. When they stayed in this hut, they had the Utsav Radha Madhava, the small Radha Madhava. And it leaked. So they put the deities on the side that didn't leak, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Prabhupada, they put a partition, and they stayed on the part that leaked. And when they woke up in the morning, Prabhupada said to Tamal Krishna Maharaj, "You snore." Tamal said, "I don't snore." Prabhupada said, "How do you know? You were asleep." Prabhupada's got a point, you know. So this is where they stayed. And this is, just look at this. There's nothing here. Now, this was the first building. The temple room was down here, and this was unfinished. And look at this. There's all rice fields, and this is where we stayed. So next. What? Hang on a minute. We'll figure it out. Okay. So this is the Mayapur temple. Now this side, this will be the planetarium. They'll have an IMAX theater and all kinds of displays. The displays they're already creating. And Prabhupada's idea, well, you'll see in a minute. And this side is Lord Sringadev's temple. Prabhupada said he's a little fiery. Should have his own place. And then here, this is the main temple building. And Prabhupada said inside should be a chandelier, look like a chandelier. And it's the structure, the entire 14 planetary systems, and all the way through the Brahma Jyoti to Krishna Loka, through all the Vaikunthas to Krishna Loka. So a person standing on the ground floor, someone standing here can look up and see all creation, and then at the top, Krishna and Radharani and Goloka, like the cover of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that was Prabhupada. Go back. From here, go forward to here. And this again, this is not Photoshop. This is the real building. It's unbelievable. You want something mystical? How did this happen? Next. So here's just a closer picture of the TOVP. And when Sandam and I were going out on book distribution, any senior devotees going out in book distribution, we used to say that every book is a brick from Mayapur. Because one of Prabhupada's schemes, transcendental schemes, was that the cost of the books were doubled. And that's a whole system, but that's the construction fund. So the money went back into printing the books, and half of that money went into the construction fund. And the North American BBT has given, what is it? It's over $4 million in the last 10 years for building this. So it's a fact. When you distribute books, a percentage goes to the TOVP. Okay, next. And here's just how the demigods see it. This is a Deva's view. This, of course, is Mother Ganga. And this is Prabhupada's Samadhi. And of course, this is the TOVP. Remember how it was all rice fields? There was nothing there. So there it is. Next. So actually, it's a Vedic city of 50,000 residents built according to Vastu principles, how they're laying out the master plan for it. People are not meant to live, what did Prabhupada say, a pigeonhole in a skyscraper building? This is not, you stack, if you put too many hamsters or gerbils in a cage, they turn on each other. They do. It becomes vicious. You've got all these people stacked on top of each other in these huge cities. It's not the way human beings are meant to live. But there's humans and there's humans. You know, out here in Yuma, it's not how people are meant to live. So it's a Vedic system. And at the center should be the Vastu Silpa Shastra, which is the principles for how to design a city. They have the king at the center. But the Vaishnava ways, the king is to the side. And like if you go to Jaipur, the Govinda Dev's temple is at the center of Jaipur. And the king is a little off to the side. Next. So this is just for fun. This is a side view of TOVP. Next. And we raised $10 million in the last, that this is in addition, all the different temples. I think you probably did something here in Tucson too. We raised money. And you're raising money for a beautiful temple here. These things happen by mystic power. So here's the Panchatat with the central altar. Next. Oh, I should say this. So there'll be all the acharyas on the left. And then there'll be Panchatat in the middle. And then there'll be Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava and the Astasakis, the 8 gopis. And then around it, see, here's the altar. You'll see more in a minute. This is all the acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, all the way back to Lord Brahma. And then this will be the Panchatattva. And this will be the Radha Madhava and the Astasakis. And this is the chandelier that will show all the planetary systems, all the movements of the different planets. It was designed by Sariputta. One of my heroes is Sariputta Prabhu. I think we mentioned about it from the BI. Sariputta never, he was given the 5th canto and told by Srila Prabhupada, figure it out, show how to represent it, which is people say, oh, well, I can't understand. Of course, we can't find our way out of a phone booth with a Boy Scout and a GPS. We can't even understand. I mean, what can we understand? And we're going to understand the mystic power of the 5th canto or the Bhagavatam. The argument that, when I was a kid, and probably most of you, did you make a model of the universe with the little styrofoam balls and you painted it and it hung and when they went around the sun? Is it reasonable that how old are you in the 5th grade? Are you 11 years old, 10 years? 11 years old. Should 11-year-old Kali Yuga kid raised on Donald Duck be able to figure out the mystic creation of the cosmos? Does that make sense? Or to scratch your head and think, well, that's a mind blower. That's how it should be. It's complete. Oh, I don't want to take up too much time, but we'll go. Okay. So this model, which is now being made in Austria and Switzerland and Germany, it's being made as we're speaking, can explain all the modern phenomena, all the changing of the season, all the eclipses, whatever they can do. Park Observatory, you can Google it with an E at the end. It's what NASA and everybody else uses when they're for the Southern Hemisphere. It's in Australia. The Park Observatory, with their electronic microscope and the Hubble's, telescope out there and all the different stuff. They announced, it was in National Geographic, it was in Scientific America, that they had recorded the echo of the Big Bang. I couldn't make this story up if I wanted to. You Google it, Park with an E Observatory. And they had for 10 years, Caltech, MIT, peer-reviewed papers. This proved that the world came from a singularity, a tiny spot, it's a whole story. It all happened by chance, by random. They'd proven it. because they heard the recording. 10 years. You know what it turned out to be? It turned out to be they were picking up the microwave oven in the staff kitchen. Whoops. Somebody's making a bag of popcorn and, oh my God, it's the original source of the universe. So, I mean, they don't know what the hell's going on out there. And they just speculate and shove this stuff down our throat. So, but this will explain everything that they explain, but from the hero Sariputta and the 5th canto. So next. And that's it. I just wanted, so here's another, this is the real thing. This is the, where am I? Where's the current? This is the, was that the Long building? Where am I? Is that the temple building? Yeah, this is the Gauranga Hall, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the Lotus building. No, this is the, this, yeah. This is the Lotus, this is the Conch, and this is the temple room right there. And this is Prabhupada's Samadhi. So out of, in the middle of nowhere, by the potency of the Acharyas, this amazing building is coming up. And the real hero, one of the real heroes is Ambarish Prabhu. Okay, so let's go to bright spots. So, well, that's not it. The, so at the meeting in Mayapur, at this transcendental scene, you know, Prabhupada said, very good, that from a grain of rice, you can understand the pot. So there are so many. You know, we're in our local temple, and we tend to get cabin fever, and we, you know, familiarity breeds contempt. You know, yeah, temple commanders, this and that brahmachari is lazy, and then they never clean. You know, we tend to criticize because we're all packed in the same box. But when you think about it, that we have temples, we have so many properties. You wonder what they do in Mayapur. This is one of the things. We now have the Global Property Office because we found out that we have so many temples, we don't even know actually how many temples there are in ISKCON. We used to say a couple of years ago, there's about 400 to 500. We have over 1,000 temples, schools, farms, restaurants, all over the world. It's a mind blower. So the Global Property Office, we have to make sure each temple's registered properly, that they've got proper insurance, who are, you know, how do we reach them? What's their address? Answering the phone is another question. We're working on that one. But so from a grain of rice, you can understand the pot. So I just wanted to give you a few ideas of fantastic things that devotees are doing around the world. And we are part of this. We are members of ISKCON. Prabhupada said that his disease is that he cannot think small. We're meant to change the world. We're not meant to just, you know, and it's happening. Okay, next. So this is the Govardhan Retreat Center. This is just Govardhan Hill, just for fun. Next. This is a Davis view of Govardhan Hill, because you're not supposed to walk on it. So this was with a drone. Next. So this is now open. This is the construction. This is, where am I? This is the main retreat center. These are all classrooms and ashrams. And it goes all the way back to here. This is for special guests and so many different things. So this is Burjan Prabhu and Giriraj Maharaj, Sachinandana Swami. They raised the money and they're building. This is our retreat center. Next. Here's the main entrance. This is before all the landscaping. They're just opening it up. Next. And this is the side view of the main hall. Next. This is the central, this is the hall empty. Here it's full of one of the retreats. This is the stage. This is looking out from the stage. It's huge. Next. This is the dining hall, nice prasadam. And we're building one in Europe. New Vrindavan is building one. We're going to build one on the West Coast as part of Swavasa's plan. So these things are going on. You're building something beautiful here. So it's an amazing thing all over the world. Next. Now this is Kazakhstan. Just to give you an example, whether you're in Africa or Southeast Asia, wherever you are. So this is Kazakhstan. Here's Russia. India is where? India is here. So just to give an idea, all these other stans are here. So in Kazakhstan, Central Asia. Next. This is their farm community. It's all devotees. It's a beautiful farm. They actually had, this is BP Govinda Maharaj. They actually had a beautiful farm. And on the other side of the hills was the house and retreat of the president of the country. And his brother-in-law used to drive out to see the prime minister, the president. And he used to drive past our farm. And he actually captured it. He loved it and just went in there with bulldozers and stole it from us. You may have remembered it was a big deal. And so the devotees figured Krishna doesn't want this here. This is a sign from the Lord. And they all gave up. Prabhupada wrote the whole Bhagavad Gita as it is by hand on the back of letterhead that he got from the USSR, the Soviet embassy, because there was a paper shortage. Just, we're off track, but it's okay. You know Prabhupada's joke? He told this joke when he went to Russia. He's in red, so he had to go on the government tour. In those days, there was no freedom. So they went to see the whatever it is, the Kremlin, this and that, And you drive past in the Red Square, Lenin's tomb. And everyone's to Turkey, right? Everyone goes to Vrindavan, everyone goes to Mecca, so if you are a bona fide communist, at least once in your life, you went to see Lenin's tomb. He's all decomposed, he's all made out of wax, whatever, but he looks pretty good. So you go to see, and you have to be dead silent, so many things. So there's a huge line. So Prabhupada drives past this huge line of people lined up to see Lenin's tomb. Prabhupada said, "What is this?" The tour guide said, "Oh, this is Lenin's tomb." Prabhupada said, "You know why everyone's lined up?" Prabhupada said, "To make sure he's dead." That's Prabhupada's joke, So the devotees, so Prabhupada got the letterhead from the Soviet embassy and used the back of it and wrote his Bhagavad Gita. And the whole thing was stolen. They stole a manuscript. Did Prabhupada give up and say, Krishna doesn't want me to do this? He did the whole thing, started all over again by hand. So the devotees, this is all new, built within the last 5 years. Next. Here's just another picture. This is all the devotees, devotee community. Beautiful. In the middle of nowhere. They wouldn't say that in Kazakhstan, but next. And these are the temple gardens. This is the temple room. They didn't make it so prominent because they didn't want to get moved again, But it's beautiful. Next. This is the temple at sunset. Next. Okay, now we're going to go to Myanmar. This is Myanmar. Used to be called Burma. Used to be part of India. It's a strict, very, very strict Buddhist country. And anyway. It's a very oppressive government. I've got a whole slideshow on that. They have so many temples. It used to be the route from India. Christopher Columbus, 1492, sailed the ocean blue. Was he trying to find North America? Where was he trying to get? He was going to India. Vasco da Gama going around the Cape of Good Hope. He's trying to go to India. Magellan, he's trying to go to India. At the apex of the Mughal Empire, which is Akbar, this is about the 1500s, the India, because they've got all the records, India had the largest gross national product in the world as far as what it was developing, had the largest navy in the world. India was 27% of the world's gross national product. Next was China. After China was Persia. Germany was about 4%. India 27, Germany 4%. Next was France, and I think England, in those horrible stone freezing cold castles, dumping their waste out the window. I mean, you call it a chamber pot. I mean, there was these savages. So India, they used to sail. You could sail across the Bay of Bengal. You could sail up the Ariwata River, and it would get you almost to China. Then it was a day or two overland, and you'd get onto the Yangtze River, and you could sail all the way through China. So it was a huge trade route, all the way from China, all the way through Burma, all the way to India. They were selling, so many things, back and forth. So they're Indian businessmen, and they established temples. I'll show this some other day. So, but then, they got independence, and they threw all the Indian businessmen out, just like they did in Africa, threw them all out. Economy collapsed. And so there's no one to take care of the temples because the businessmen were giving money to support the temples. So we now have over, how many is it? There's at least 10 beautiful temples. One looks just like Rajasthan. Another one, the one that's right near the capital, near Yangon. It's in the old European section. It's a beautiful Sita Ram temple. When I spent the night there, we'd just gotten it donated. And it was, I'm looking at the time, all night long. I couldn't get any sleep. I said, who's making all that noise? Turns out there was a cow had moved in to the abandoned temple. It's a whole story. There was a Burmese family. We won't finish this. We'll have to do this tomorrow. This is the kind of, we're wondering how we're going to raise $8 million for this temple and the housing for the devotees. Don't worry. You make Krishna, you take a risk for Krishna, Radharani becomes your treasurer. It will happen. It's going to be hard work. It's going to be an adventure, but it will happen. So the main preacher, his name is Srivas Pandit Prabhu, made friends with an Indian family. It's a whole story before that, but I'll just give you this one. The Indian family, the husband was a dacoit, the son was a drunkard, the daughter was flirting with so many different men, and the wife was going to divorce him. The wife was a devotee, Dharma Patni. They met Srivas Pandit. He preached to them all, encouraged them all, turned them all into devotees. The husband got into honest business. The son shaped up and helped the husband. The daughter married a nice devotee The whole family was saved. The man was so grateful. He had just purchased a ruby mine. Rubies come jade, rubies gold, so many things come out of Burma. But it had been mined out. It was just producing industrial rubies. They use them in those, the guns that read prices and stuff like that, They may cost $1,000 to $2,000. He said that he was going to donate. When he opened the ruby mine, the first ruby he got, he was going to donate to the temple. Renovated the mine, opened it. The first ruby they got was the size of your thumb. The guy didn't want to give it. The wife said, no, this is a death now. And with that, they sold it. And with that ruby, they've gradually repaired. They have get these temples donated because there's no one to maintain them. If you'll worship the deity, we'll give you the temple. So I'll show that some other time, but mystical things happen in this movement. Okay, so just to give you it's a Buddhist nation. The government is so rapacious, so vile. When you fly in, the city is just 10 hutments, just, those corrugated steel, blue roofs, maybe 2 or 3 stories. A couple Japanese banks and Chinese banks as they're squeezed. They have the military government has sold to the Chinese. It's a World Heritage Site. It's the largest natural teakwood forest in the world. It's got tigers, it's got lions, it's got elephants, it's got black rhinos. It's the only place they exist. They sold it to the Chinese, and the Chinese are just churning through it, spitting out the teakwood, just devouring it. That's the nature of the country. It's horrible. They raised the price on cooking oil and rice. The poor people were suffering so much, the Buddhist monks went out to strike, and the government butchered, machine gunned 2,000 Buddhists, monks. So it's a heavy country. It's a heavy, heavy place. You cannot go out dressed like this. So what to do? How do they preach? Next. So this is the donated temple. It just been renovated with the interest from that the ruby that they sold. Hey, this is yours truly. I forgot. I'm in this one. Just to show it's not Photoshop. Here I am in better days. And these are the devotees in Yangon, which is the capital. And it's a beautiful Sita Ram temple. Next. This is the temple they're building. They got the land donated. This is a place called Michikina, which is up by China. It's about probably 40 miles from China. This is our Jagannath temple. Check it out. It's beautiful. Temples like this are coming up all over the world against all odds. It will happen here. Next. Let me ask you a question. We've accepted that we're going to finish this tomorrow. Different things, different materials have different degrees of conductivity, right? Like rubber doesn't conduct electricity at all. Better is water. A little bit better is copper. Better is platinum. I think now fiber optics. What characteristic determines how much of a current can flow through a material? Progressive degrees of resistance. Less resistance, more current can flow. To yayatamam prapadyante, to the degree that we're surrendered, Krishna reciprocates. How did Prabhupada come to America and tell drug-crazed, sex-addicted, long-haired hippies protesting World War II, the Vietnam War, shave up, join the brahmacharya ashram or get married and stop taking intoxication. And by the way, here's the book it's all based on, Bhagavad Gita, spoken on a battlefield. How many things are wrong in this picture? But because he was completely surrendered, look what happened. So I'm just telling you, this is a mystical movement. And to the degree that we're surrendered to serving Krishna and spreading the word, mystical things happen. So how do you preach in this Buddhist country? Strict. You can't go out on Harinam. You can't have Ratha Yatra. You can't do it. If you're in the Hindu community, if you can preach to the Hindus, just like in the Middle East, we can preach to the Hindu diaspora, the expats that are working there. But you convert a Muslim, you're in big trouble. So what did this devotee do? His name is Rasik Shekhar. He's a dentist. So this is a card, because I was telling him, you got to reach out beyond the Hindu community. We got to somehow, there's got to be a way to crack these local people. There's got to be a way that doesn't get you thrown in jail, that you can mix with these people. So this is a poster. It says philosophy seminar concerning the curriculum development. It sounds. He rents in a nice hotel. He rents a what do you call it? A meeting room, a nice big meeting room. Brings nice prashadam. He and his wife and the devotees. This is Dr. Nai Om. That's Rasik Shekhar. And he reaches out to university students. Next, because we're going to go with this. Here he is teaching Bhagavad Gita. This is Rasik Shekhar. He's, goes through the whole thing systematically. Next. This is one of his graduating classes. Now, there's a few Indians sprinkled in here, but these are Buddhists. Now, I mean, this guy is they got the Myanmar, these are all, got a few Indians in SARS. This is Rashik and his wife, Champakalata. Powerful preachers. So they're preaching to the Chinese, they're preaching to the Burmese. You got a few Swiss guys in there, expats. And he does this, he does it 3 times a year, different batches. He's getting initiated devotees. So you cannot keep a good devotee down. You can't do it. Where there's, Prabhupada said, everywhere there's an advantage and disadvantage. I mean, Sandamani came out here to the desert. I mean, this is where desert is where if you kill a Brahmin, the karmic reaction is to be born in the desert. I mean, no offense to anybody, but you got a beautiful temple here. How did it happen? So anyway, just to show you, whether you're in Kazakhstan, whether you're in Burma, whether India, doesn't matter. Next.
How are they not getting in trouble? Because they're converting
you got to be very, very careful. The head of the place will eventually open up. I mean, I don't want to take up too much time, but the people are just wonderful. It's just a wonderful place to preach. And they are fried. Twice they've risen up. I mean, even being machine gunned, 2,000 monks. That doesn't even count how many they wounded. That's from Amnesty International. I mean, they'll tell you, maybe 200, 300. The military government will say that. But Amnesty International, which goes to different hospitals and actually talks to the doctors and does a real count, over 2,000 butchered. I mean, it's a whole story. But so what the daughter of the sports ministry, sports are usually a big thing in these countries. She's become a devotee. Got Prabhupada's book. I mean, there's so many things that happen. One of the big professors, I'm just thinking about the time because we started. Do we have class tomorrow or no? Okay, so we'll finish tomorrow. So there's a group of Burmese Buddhist doctors on a medical convention in New York City. They meet a Sankirtan devotee. And the devotees, what does the devotee do? Hey, we're Buddhists. This is Hinduism. We're not interested. Devotee turns to the picture with Das avatars, shows Buddha. These are the principles that Buddha taught from. This is, okay, they buy it. They get home. Wait, what is this? This is, they take it back with them. They take it back to Burma. From Avenue of Americas in New York City, Manhattan, they take it back to Myanmar, to Burma. And they've got a doctor friend. Well, he's a Hindu. We'll give it to him. He's a flaming Advaitis, a Sankaracharya. This is bhakti. I don't want this. You ever go to a doctor's office? They always have their stacks of all the books and report, So the country is such a disaster. I got hit by a motorcycle. It's a whole story. If there's a lightning storm and we're outside, don't stand next to me because I'm going to get hit, guaranteed, So we went to the main hospital. It took them 45 minutes to find an ace bandage. When you fly into the country, like I said, it's all these little tenements and a few Chinese and Japanese banks squeezing everything they can out of the country. And there's an island in the middle of the Eriwada River, solid teakwood houses, swimming pools, golf courses. It's only one way in and one way out. And that's where the military generals live. You can see it when you're flying. It's obscene. So how do you do it? I think we'll finish with Gita Nagari. So how do you do it? This head of the sports ministry, his daughter joined. She brought her parents. Srivas Pandit contacted her parents and said, let's talk. She couldn't move into the temple. She could not wear a sari. No way. And they made a deal with the parents. They were so impressed by the devotees. He was a very nice man. I met him. He said, actually, this is how Buddhism used to be. They have two groups of Buddhists. One of them in Burma, one of them wears yellow, and they're strict, they're vegetarian. And the much larger group wears that maroon kind of color, and they just beg and listen to the radio and eat meat and all. If you're in Burma, gives you a flavor of the country. There was a big sign and it had a cross, a line across it and a phone number. So I asked Srivas Pandit, I said, what does this mean? He said, this is put up by the government. And it means if you find a monk, it's for monks gone bad, like call 911. You see a monk going into a brothel, you see a monk going into a liquor shop, you can call the police. The police will come, pick him up, and take him back to his monastery. Monks gone bad, 911. You can fly anywhere in Burma if you're a monk, not us, but if you're a monk, you can fly anywhere for free within the country. You can go into any doctor's office. You get eyeglasses, you get dental work, you get the government, and they'll send the bill to the government. So on one hand, it's got a pious streak, but the sports minister said, this is how Burma used to be. You are the real Buddhists. And he said, but I will lose my position if my daughter gets involved in this. You're going to get arrested. They'll just come and crush your temple, like the Catholic Church did, in Argentina. They just crushed the devotees. So she's made a deal. At her house, she has a little prayer room, and she can wear a sari there. She cannot move into the temple. She cannot wear a sari. She comes on Sunday, so that's okay. So, you have to skate very, very carefully. Anyway, so now this is Gita Nagari, because I wanted to pick one place in America. There's so many things that are being done all over the world. Next. I think if you click on this, do we have sound? Where's sound on this? No, stop.
There were two fellows who were new devotees, very enthusiastic. They were country boys from not too far away. And they had brought from their own garden a medium-sized basket full of vegetables. And Srila Prabhupada picked up an eggplant out of the basket, and he just held it in his hand as though it were a jewel of some sort. And he held it kind of up and just looked at it. It had a real value, this produce. You can just tell his pleasure was immense. So at some point, he spoke about how we should be able to feed the neighboring city temples, supply them with very luscious kinds of fresh foods like this. But not only that, but in time of need, we should be prepared to also produce an abundance sufficient to feed people living in a 10-mile radius.
Prabhupada took a walking tour of the bar in the Racine area. And Parmananda was a little bit apologetic because Prabhupada had been to Taliban a few months ago and chastised him for having farm equipment. But actually they had farm equipment and was standing outside in the weather getting rusty. And at Gita Nagari, we had a lot of farm equipment, but everything was very well protected. But Parmananda was very much self-conscious. So as he was showing Prabhupada the different equipment, he was saying, this is a disc and it'll do the work of so many men, and this is a plow and it'll do the work of so many men. And Prabhupada was very silent. But when Prabhupada gave his class later on that evening, he said, it's not that we hate machinery, everything can be used in Krishna service. He also very much caught our mood that we didn't want to be in the cities. And so when Prabhupada noted that, he commented in his class, it's not that we hate the towns and the villages, everything belongs to Krishna. So he saw our mentality and he cut through it very effectively.
Okay, back to the. So, we're not farmers. It's hard to find a good farmer. And so we're learning how to do it. So Gita Nagari has struggled for a long time. Devamrita Maharaj became the GBC, the governing body commission. And he had a very surrendered disciple and the disciple's wife. And I'm embarrassed that it's on the tip of my tongue what her name is. She was one of the top directors of FedEx for South Africa. Never been to a farm in her life. Her husband, what is his name? Dhruva Prabhu. He and Parijata, thank you very much. So she's a big business executive, never been on a farm in her life. Dhruva Prabhu was a nuclear physicist for an atomic plant. Never been on a farm. And sometimes it does take a rocket scientist. Sometimes it's not all Bart Simpson. Sometimes you actually need an atomic scientist. Never been on a farm in their life, but they were surrendered to Devamrita Maharaj. He asked them to move from South Africa and take care of the farm and figure out how to make it work. So next. Hey, yes, just work with me. They actually, I said, no, one was Deva, maybe they were under Devamrita Maharaj, but work with me. So this is Radha Damodar on the farm there. Next. So what did they figure out how to do? Because devotees dry up if they don't get to preach. So he made this connection with the local colleges and universities. And they also you can live on the site. You have to follow all the principles. You have to go to the program. And at the end of the thing, 6 months or whatever, a year, you get a degree, different stages of degrees in certified organic gardening. It's far out. And they have from, university? What's that, Penn State? What's the big? So these are students from Penn State come out on weekends and volunteer and love it. So that all of a sudden they're preaching, all of a sudden they've got manpower, all of a sudden they're making devotees. He figured it out, he and his wife. Next. So here's a work study program. This is their professor. Where is the guy? Right here. This is the professor. It's amazing. Next. Winter, in case any of you are thinking of moving, you don't want to move there in the snow. So next. So this is, this is a sample. This is Dhruva Prabhu, nuclear engineer. This is Parijata, exec at FedEx. And they're living peacefully in South Africa, but they surrendered to the order of their spiritual master, moved to Gita Nagari, to a different country, to a farm that was struggling, and the thing is super successful. Next. Oh, it doesn't say it yet, but and you can order. He has gotten close to and with his wife, it's definitely a team effort. I think it's like $800,000 or more in government grants. They've gotten farm equipment, a dairy. They have now a certified licensed commercial dairy, and you can order from them different types of mozzarella cheese or American Jack cheese. You can order paneer, sliced paneer. You can order milk. Somehow or other, they can do dairy, but they haven't been able to get licensed yet for ghee, but they're going to do that. You can get ahimsa milk, ahimsa cheese, ahimsa, nonviolent, paneer. You can order from Gita Nagari. It's the real price for milk. It's a real price. You can't go in there and, but like I got a pound of mozzarella cheese, cost me with shipping, I think it was $22. That's not a bad price, actually, So, and you're helping the farm. Okay, so I just wanted to finish with this. Because you are members of ISKCON. You're part of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. We are, Prabhupada said that the grandfather, let me ask you a question, and we'll end after this. If we want to know Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what book do we read? What set of books? Oh, help me out. Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, who is Chaitanya Charitamrita written by? Now, is Krishnadas Kaviraj a direct disciple of the six Goswamis? Who was he initiated by? He was... in other words, Krishnadas Kaviraj is not a direct disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I know Krishnadas Kaviraj is initiated by, anyway. Yeah, there's Siksha gurus. But anyway, the point I wanted to make was this. He was not a direct disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And yet, if we want to know Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we go to Krishnadas Kaviraj. I have to talk to you about that. I have a question. But be that as it may, so Prabhupada, most of you, and I'm not going to last much longer, may Sandamani have a long life, but I can see the end of the road for me. So it's in your hands. But Prabhupada wrote that the grandfather, when we had the first big marathon in America, Prabhupada wrote that my guru, is that the turkey? Oh, okay. Whoops. Don't tell the mother. So but the point I was trying to make is Prabhupada said that the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada's spiritual master, our grandfather's spiritual master of us and those Prabhupada's disciples. He said, my Guru Maharaj is pouring his mercy down on you. The grandfather is more merciful than the father. I'm not going Ritvik, you've got to be connected properly. That we need a living guru. Don't go squirrely on me. But the point I'm making is that Prabhupada said the grandfather, and we have the example of Krishna Das Kaviraj and his understanding of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Similarly, people say, I'm not connected to Prabhupada. Yes, you are. If we follow Prabhupada's instructions, if you follow his shelter, if you take initiation from one of his disciples, and in this way the chain goes on, so it's in your hands, and you are getting Prabhupada's mercy. And amazing things are happening all over the world. So the reason I've got this picture is because I love this picture. You see how that goes all the way back down the road. Prabhupada was in Detroit, and he went on his morning walk in Belle Isle Park a couple times. That's a whole story. When he came to the temple, it's one of the worst ghettos in America, and we're just on the other side. And so they drove through that. And Prabhupada looked out his window of his car and said, this is Mahaprabhu's movement. Govardhan, Jagadish, they were in the car. They looked, there was a hardware store, a donut shop, and a welfare office. Donut shop, Mahaprasadam, distribution, how is it? Welfare with Mahaprabhu's Namo Mahabadhanaya. They were trying to figure it out, right? Next day, Prabhupada comes back from his walk, same route, same corner. This is Mahaprabhu's movement. So Jagadish asked Prabhupada, what are you seeing? And what Prabhupada was seeing was the logo. This is for Sherwin-Williams paint. Out in front of the hardware store, there was a sign, and it says, we cover the world. And this is, see how the paint? So in every town and village, Mahaprabhu's name will be known. And it's actually happening. It's happening in Kazakhstan. It's happening in the rice field of Mayapur. It's happening in Myanmar. And it's happening right over here. And it may appear impossible. It may appear, but we are connected. Prabhupada saw, Prabhupada saw some kids. Don't try this at home. But there was a truck going up a hill. And there was a rope. A lot of times they have a rope for throwing the thing up and pulling the back of the truck, the storage area open. And that rope was hanging, out the back of it. And one kid had grabbed onto the rope. They were going up a hill, not too fast. They were going up a hill. Another kid grabbed onto the back of his bike. Another kid grabbed onto his, and there was a chain of 5 or 6 kids all going up the hill without pedaling because the first kid was holding. So Prabhupada said, this is the parampara. Prabhupada's taking it, and he goes all the way back. We hold on to our spiritual master's lotus feet, and we go at the same speed as Mahaprabhu. So this is the movement that's we're part of. We are not meant for small things. And it's happening all over the world. Thank you very much, Prabhus. Hare Krishna. And we'll finish the other one, Bright Spots, tomorrow.